This podcast is a Uniting Heart and Soul production. G'day and welcome to Filthy Hope, a podcast from Uniting Heart and Soul in Wallara, all about choosing faith and hope in the middle of the mess and filth of the world. The ministry here at Uniting Heart and Soul is one built on a declaration of radical honesty, something that we will try to embody as we have conversations about God, faith, life and religion, but also the grey spaces where those things intersect. This means that you might hear some language you're not used to hearing from a minister, but it also means that we're going to be talking about some potentially confronting subject matter, quite frankly and honestly, so we do recommend that you don't listen around children. I'm your host, Jonty, and this week on the podcast, we're taking a break from our Where the Fuck is God series to hear a story from Ness about God working in the last place that she expected. That series will be back next week with Dr. Keith Suter as a guest to talk about the ethics of war. But until then, enjoy this mid-season break. Welcome to Filthy Hope. Ness, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Jonty?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm looking forward to this podcast. This is a bit of an impromptu one, which we'll get to in a sec and explaining why. But I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be exciting.
It was a good story.
Yeah. First of all, how you doing? What's been going on?
Well, I'm off my drugs now, which is amazing. I'm a couple of weeks off my gear and surprise, surprise, I'm a bit anxious. And I suppose it's just getting used to bringing in what we call that window of tolerance so that I can cope in the space. And I'm doing okay. I've had some really classic anxious moments. I've had some things that really have been worthy of some anxiety, and haven't rushed off to hospital, and I've just gone, that's just anxiety. And yeah, so I feel a bit proud of myself, honestly.
Yeah, you should
I don't
be.
want to sound
It's
like
great.
a wanker,
No.
but I feel a little bit proud of myself.
You're allowed to be proud of yourself.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Why not?
It's all right, hey? Yeah.
Yeah,
Amazing.
awesome. Well, before we dive into our main segment, which I'm really excited about, of course, we have to do Vent Central first.
Yes.
So, I think I'm up today, is that right?
You are, man.
Alrighty. So, I feel like we need to set up like a drinking game for this podcast. So every time you say that you're feeling a bit anxious, do a shot. Every time I mention something about movies, do a shot. Because my Vent Central is about movies again.
Are you saying, am I talking too much about anxiety?
No, not at all.
I
It's
just
good.
get nervous doing this stuff, man.
Oh,
Just
we're both
do.
new at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but do a shot now because I'm going to talk about movies again. My Vent Central is, and contextually, this is the week we're recording it that the new Doctor Strange
Yes.
movie is
Friday
about to come
night
out.
I'm going.
Yeah,
I
I'm
can't
going on
wait.
I'm going tomorrow.
Awesome.
It's going to be good. But every time a new Marvel movie comes out, this whole discussion starts up again. And my Vent Central isn't necessarily about Marvel movies specifically, because they're way better than they have any right to be. Like, they're all consistently good, whether or not you like them. They're well made. They're not really my thing, but I quite enjoy going to see them. My Vent Central isn't about that. My Vent Central is about the type of discussion that then always comes up. Because something that really annoys me, and annoys other people more so, it seems, is this thing where popular culture things, you're more than allowed to like them, but it's when they become part of your identity.
Yep.
So, for example, I like Batman. Great. But if I say, oh, the new Batman was so-so, the response of, fuck you, Batman's the best, because not only is it I like Batman, but Batman is a part of who I am.
Yep.
And what that means is that any discussion about anything is immediately shut down because you can't criticise or critique the thing without the other person feeling like you're criticising them as a person because they've attached it to who they are as a person.
Are you saying this because you don't like my Captain America backpack?
I haven't even... Do you have a Captain America back, or are you joking? You're pulling my leg. Okay, we need a sarcasm bell on this podcast. Yeah. So, I mean, it happened recently with the new Batman movie, which I love. I think it's fantastic. But a similar thing, 50% of the conversations I had about it, it seemed like we couldn't actually talk about the movie itself.
Wow.
Because we were talking about, oh, well, this isn't my Batman. So, and as soon as you start talking about it, you feel like you're offending people. It's like, well, it's just a movie.
Yeah, that's right. Get over
like
yourself.
what you like. That's great. You can like whatever you want, but like, don't let it attach to who you are as a person, because it's embarrassing, honestly.
I'm just going to say this, Jonty. I'm going to put it out there now.
Yeah.
If you criticise my favourite, Tony Stark, I'm just saying I'm going to shut you down. I'm going to get out of this chair and come over and tackle you, because
Can I
am
say,
in love with Iron Man.
that does not surprise me.
It is so hot. Come on. Put it into our chat. Tell us how hot Tony Stark is.
So yeah, that's I thought I'd actually throw in there as well. People probably remember Martin Scorsese, the greatest living director, talking about, oh, they're not movies, they're theme park rides, which I just thought was funny more than anything else. Whether or not you agree with him, just like, because he is of such clout and has such a voice in the discussion about cinema, I can just imagine him, before he said that it was probably some interview or in some article, just laughing to himself going, the nerds are going to hate this. Surprise, surprise, they did. But he might be right. You never know. We'll have a discussion about that another time. So yeah, that's my Van Central for today.
Bum.
Yeah, but I am looking forward to Doctor Strange. That definitely will have come out already by the time you're listening to this.
Oh, I can't wait. 2
yeah.
more sleeps.
Yeah, it'll be good. I'm sure. All right, well, let's dive into our main segment. So, Ness, I'm just going to throw over to you.
Yeah, sure. I had this most incredible encounter that I wasn't expecting to have, Jonty. We're having some new concrete laid at home, new stairs are going in, and a whole bunch of tradies coming in to build this new deck for us at the front of the house. And I've been making the guys coffees when I'm home. So it was my day off, and the guys were there, and I've got this kick-ass cappuccino machine, so I thought I'd share it with the boys. I yell out the window, anybody want a coffee? I'm making cappuccinos. And the boys are yelling out, yeah, I have a coffee, love. Yeah, that'd be lovely, love. Give us a coffee. I said, how many bloody sugars, Pete? And he said, 2 sugars, love. And then, no worries. And then I go off and I start making it, but I can hear them through the window. And the lead builder says, hey, Peter, you know that she's a minister, mate. she's a minister, mate. And Peter says, the concreter says, there's no way, mate. She just swore. And I heard him say that. And the builder said, yeah, no, mate, she is. She really is. She's just really cool. She's just a really cool one. So I come out with the coffees because I can't help myself. And I say, your fucking coffees are ready, you morons. And Peter just like nearly implodes, nearly falls down the steps and laughs his head off. He says, you are one crazy thingo minister. Are you really one? And I said, yeah, I am. I've just got a bit of a gutter mouth, mate, and I just keep it honest. He said, yeah, ministers don't talk like you. And I said, yeah, they do. I'm just telling you, they do. They just bullshit to you and pretend that they're all holy when they're around you, and then they're swearing at home for sure, without a doubt. Anyway, we had a hilarious chat. And then the next day, turned up on the Saturday morning, and he yelled out, hey, lovely, can I have a coffee? I said, 2 fucking sugars? He said, yeah, babe. He killed himself laughing, made him a coffee. And he came up to the window and he said to me, hey, love, I've just got out of jail. And I was a bit thrown, actually, because he's got tats all over him. He's sort of patched up, and he's a badass-looking, strong guy, which you want laying your cement. He's an amazing buff dude. And he started to share his story with me. And I said, wow, how does that feel, being out? And he said, I was in for 5 years. So my brain clicks over thinking, oh, what sort of a crime puts you in jail for 5 years? It's got to be a fairly serious crime. And then he shared with me about drug addiction and his life. And it started to just unravel, and how his father was abusive to him and just an absolute pig of a man. And he grew up in a really dysfunctional, aggressive home, which led him to drugs. And then he says, the clanger of all time, on Saturday morning, he openly says to me with a huge smile, this is a guy that has such joy in his being. He just oozes joy and happiness, Jonty. And he says to me, you know, love, I was fucked up from the start, to be honest, because I was fucked by a priest at Manly, at Aloysius. And that just kind of fucked me right over. And I knew he was watching me for a reaction. And I just said to him, yeah, I was fucked up the ass as a 7-year-old by my mother's boyfriend. I get you, man. And the two of us completely, in that nanosecond of a moment, were just bonded in this moment. I start to cry, and this concreter starts ministering to me. And he says to me, love, it's all about forgiveness. On the inside, do you know what I learnt? I learnt all about forgiveness. I made friends with, and he named this badass character in jail, and he said, I learnt from him that unless you fucking forgive the people that have done bad shit to you, mate, you're not going to go anywhere, love. So I just forgave the bastards, all of them. The priest, my father, all the bastards that have done me wrong. And I'm free of that bullshit now. I'm totally free, love. I'm really happy, and I've got the joy of life in me. And I said to him, Peter, I said, mate, I'm the minister, and you have just ministered to me the greatest story ever, one of forgiveness. I was just really blown over by his ability to forgive such horrendous things. And I think one of the things he also said is that he had to forgive himself for decisions and things he'd made in his life that had led him down a particular path, which obviously was crime. And it was just a beautiful interaction of life. I went away, had a cry, got my shit back together, and came back out later in the day, and I said, do you want another coffee? He said, yeah, love, I'd love another coffee. Made another coffee, and we chatted again. And he said to me, told me his story about how his partner that he'd had when he was young, they'd had a child together. And the child is now in her early 20s. And the mother of the child had not wanted him in her life anymore because he was not a good man, he described. And he said, and rightly so, because I was not worthy of her at that time, but I'm changed, and I'm a changed man now, and my heart's full of forgiveness, and I'm on the right track, and I'm clean. And he said that they've started seeing each other again, and he said to me, and I'm really in love. I'm really, really in love with her, and I'm going to ask her to marry me. And I said to him, that is the best story. That is just absolutely amazing. And he said, hey, love, do you know anybody that does weddings? And I said, yeah, mate, I do weddings. That's part of my gig. I'm a minister. I do weddings. And he said, fuck. Fuck, really? I said, yeah, mate, I do. I'm a priest. And he said, oh, shit, would you marry me? And I said, nothing would make me more happy than to marry you. That is just the best story, Peter. And so he's going to hit me up in due course to do a wedding, and that's going to be one of the best weddings I reckon ever, Jonty. And I just think, isn't life so cool that if we're open for a transparent conversation and allow ourselves to be vulnerable, the things you can learn about people. And in our previous segments, we've been talking about where the fuck is God. Can I just tell you, God was all over that interaction. And if you'd told me on Friday morning after I'd been at Reformer Pilates that I would have this deep and meaningful conversation with my concreter about forgiveness, there's no way I wouldn't have bet on that. And it was one of those just classic, beautiful, life-altering moments that I'll never forget. I felt changed and better for having heard his story. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and we talked about this earlier. He wasn't a Christian, or isn't a Christian, is he?
No.
Yeah.
Not at all. He actually said to me he relates more to Islam because the guy that he shared a cell with was Muslim and taught him about forgiveness. I went, oh my God, I love that. Just, that's the best. Go you. How good is that?
Yeah, and I love that. Like, I almost don't even feel like it's worth drawing attention to because it's so insignificant in the context of the story, but the fact that he's not a Christian literally doesn't matter.
No.
Like, it's the least important part of that story.
100%. Yeah. I tell you what, he has this massive faith and he spoke like Jesus' disciples would have spoken to me. It's like I was the lost fisherman that day and he was like Jesus speaking into my life that day. And I think, oh my, wow. It was a real shakedown for me. It was incredible. And what a powerful man. And he's just going on to have this most incredible life. Redeemed, forgiven, surviving and thriving, can I just say. And I reckon those stairs are going to be the best bloody stairs ever.
You should get him to scratch like an initial into them or something.
Yeah, I think that's
done.
a really
That'd
good
be great.
idea, actually.
Yeah.
It's so good. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, something new for the pod that's not really a discussion, it's more of a story. If you have, if you resonate with that story, we'd love to hear from you. But if you have a story like that, hit us up. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah, totally.
And if you like hearing stories like this, we'll see what else we can. I mean, I guess it's really just whatever happens to us in the day-to-day of our lives. But I was thinking when you told me this story on Sunday, a couple of days before recording this, like people have asked me, what's filthy hope? Like, define that for me. I feel like that story is like the very definition of what filthy hope is.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went into ministry. It was interesting. I went into ministry grateful that I hadn't done time in jail. And I know we said we'd talk about that at another time as to why. So having an opportunity to chat with him and for him to share that story was quite profound for me. And also, I suppose, as a survivor of horrendous child abuse, to connect for us on that level. It's like we connected on that level. Nothing else mattered, but we connected on that level because there's a shared trauma there, and we just got each other in that moment, which was just absolutely powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So forever grateful, and it is a perfect filthy hope.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Such a great story.
Great story.
Yeah. All right, well, I feel like it's time to move on to our final segment, gratitude. Take another shot, everyone, because we're back to the movies. I think I spoke on an earlier podcast about going to live music again.
Yeah, you did.
I've been to the movies with friends a whole bunch recently, which in the course of the pandemic just became less and less of a thing. I think a few times I'd been with one or two people, but been to plenty of movies with my partner. But like going in groups is something that I remember. One of my very first like big group expeditions to the movies that I really remember as being like a thing was going to see the first Conjuring film whenever that came out. I think I was 14 or 15 with a group of about 20 of us. And I've seen that film 2 or 3 times. I've seen it at home by myself, and I've seen it in a theatre that's full with 20 of my mates, and it's a different movie when you watch it with that many people. And there have been a few notable expeditions to the cinema, let's say, recently that I've taken part in with a larger group of people that... Yeah, similar to going to live music again. It was just something like I always knew intellectually that I loved, but until I'd not been doing it for a little while and then started doing it again, I was like, hell yeah, this is... Yeah, you can watch anything by yourself at home on your TV, but going out to the movies with your friends
So
and
good.
talking in the car park afterwards, and
A deep dive after it. It's the best, isn't it?
Yeah, I love it. It's great. A few friends and I, shout out if you're listening, you'll know who you are. We went to see The Northman a couple of days ago. Have you not? You're looking at me like you don't know this film.
No.
It's. Did you see either The Witch or The Lighthouse?
No and no.
Okay.
Sounds gross.
The Witch is a horror film.
Yeah, there's no way I'm going to see that shit, Jonty.
The Lighthouse is less of a horror film. It's a weird, almost comedy, but with sort of esoteric stuff. It's two guys trapped in a lighthouse and they go crazy together.
Mate, that is like a nightmare.
The Northman is a Viking film. So it's like an action thriller.
Stressful.
Yeah.
Plundering into the guts.
Yeah. So I saw it twice in the theatres. Once by myself and then once with a bunch of friends.
Well, I think it's really important for me to tell you now that I'm off to see Downton Abbey, the new Downton Abbey tonight.
Awesome.
Yeah. Old lady flick. Warning.
Yeah. But yeah, if you're tossing up between going to see a movie with your friends or watching it at home by yourself, watch it with your friends.
Totally.
It's a totally different experience. That just about does it. Anything we've missed?
I think we've nailed it.
I think that's it.
It's a good story.
Yeah. It's a slight change of format for us, but that's great. We love it. Change it up. You've been listening to Filthy Hope. Hit us up on Instagram or join the discussion group on Facebook if you want to have a chat to us more personally. But we'll see you next week on the podcast.
See you then, Jonty.
Catch you later. This podcast is a Uniting Heart and Soul production.